need to buy yourself a gun.
What?
Gun.
What?
Like a handgun. For personal protection. If somebody tries to mug you.
What?
What if your government tries to throw you in a can?
What?
You're gonna want a shotgun.
Oh.
What? An automatic rifle. And a lot of ammo.
Gun?
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like you Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. Jackbooted cops in riot gear, gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun, buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave no money to the banksters. They stole your pension funds. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. You gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta drag them through the streets.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. This is Primer Time on UCY.TV. My name is Michael.
Hey, I'm Dan. How you doing, Michael?
Not too bad, Dan. What's going on with you?
Oh, not a lot. Had some good weather. Got some range time in. I've been enjoying myself. How about you?
I'll tell you what, I saw the snow icon on my phone for the very first time ever today. I almost took it back. Got my money.
Snowing down your way. That's
Well,
amazing.
it didn't snow, but I'll tell you what, that the water got cold and stiff real fast. We still have the jury out on as to what it is, but we'll figure it out. But
I think it's
hey,
called ice, Michael.
yeah, we're not talking about that. If we don't give it any credence, it won't stick around.
Okay.
We got somebody special on with us tonight, all the way from lovely South Korea. We have Nicholas with us.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, guys.
Good.
Good to hear you.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
It's the
How's the
most
shoulder
important
coming
question.
Say the shoulder is actually coming along okay, Dan. I actually took all the bandages off and I am looking like I got beat with a tire iron.
Well, it's for the better in the long run, I guess, right?
I hope so, because in the short run, it ain't doing so good.
Natural tiger stripe.
That is. That's going to be the Army's new camo pattern.
So I'm going to ask you, have you had a chance to go to the Cabela's of Seoul and see if they have any 22 long rifle out there?
Like I said before, they have nothing out here. So
I was just hoping that I hope they were changing in the intervening week, because I know things move fast in Korea.
Yeah, they do. They move about the speed of suck here.
Yeah, well, you'll see when you come home. It's the same here.
Cheaper. Didn't you say cheaper than dirt had a deal on some 22?
That's
ammo?
right. Jimmy passed on to me earlier today. Cheaper than dirt is the retailer scumbag of the week. They have Tula ammo, which is a imported Ukrainian ammo. Some people consider it to be lower end. I think there's absolutely nothing stuff. This stuff comes in a plastic sealed can, 250 rounds, and it comes out to be $38. And they've got plenty in stock if you're really hungry.
$38. Wow.
$38 for 250.
So
Now my question, not being around anywhere where you can buy 22 long rifle ammo, is at what point is everybody who's been hoarding this stuff just going to take a big dump and say, well, I guess I got to offload it?
Why, if you get enough 22 long rifle, it's fairly heavy to carry.
Right, but I mean, you can only fire so much.
That's very true.
It bewilders me about
For all these old guys that were standing in front of the big box retailers on Wednesdays and Friday mornings buying their limits. At what point do they just sit there and say, well, you know what? Nobody's buying it at my overinflated prices anymore.
Well, we know that number one, after it's not sold online to the gullible public, it will be sold at a gun show to the gullible public.
Yeah.
so.
How do you go out and buy?
I have a feeling a lot of those guys are going to be sitting on a whole lot of ammo, and not necessarily losing money because they bought it at retail prices. They didn't pay inflated prices. They're asking inflated prices. But I have a feeling that at some point, maybe a year down the road, they're just going to, the wife is going to scream, I need that bedroom back. And, you start piling up ammunition and it takes up some room. And I mean, and it's a lot of weight. So I can see them. I really think that the ammo hoarders are going to bite themselves in the end.
Yeah, but I mean, how soon are we looking for the availability to come back in stock where there won't be limits on it? One, and then number two is that
I find it interesting looking down that path, that we have the Tula ammo, which is for sale, which comes from the Ukraine. And as we see, the Ukraine is on fire and blah, blah, blah over there. But they could get us 22, but we have how many factories in the United States? At least 4 different manufacturers, and they can't get any to my Walmart.
Good point, Michael.
This is a problem.
Yeah, but I mean, that speaks to a larger problem. And that is, number one, are the retailers intentionally not carrying the product, or are the manufacturers slowing down production? Because the retailers that I'm seeing saying, oh, no, there's not a problem with our forecasting. There's not a problem with our stock on hand. It's all on the manufacturers. They're not producing enough. And then the manufacturers come back and say, we are producing at maximum capacity.
Yeah, there's got to be a bunch of trucks running around on the highway that are just about ready to hit that store, right?
Yep.
That's kind of what that makes it sound like the check's in the mail.
Well, it sounds to me that there's a concerted effort, whether it's by leadership of certain companies and corporations that have these platforms to sell ammunition, that they want to keep it off the street. And I don't understand for the life of me why they would want to do that, considering that adds to their bottom line.
Well, this brings up a question. Every time we have an incident that brings up the hue and the cry for common sense reform and demanding a plan and all that, I always wonder if the voices that scream the loudest for firearms prohibition are holding stock in any of the companies that inevitably see an incredible rise in their bottom line.
Well,
as we see, we've got the gun salesman of the century. Last running, the man holds the title. Anytime he opens his mouth, sales shoot through the roof. There's got to be some sort of business plan in this.
Well, I think it is. I think it's probably like you were talking about, the people screaming the loudest, A, the federal government, and B, are the people who are probably doing the most purchase. DHS.
What I'm saying is, I'm talking about not the federal government, speaking as a faceless entity. I'm talking, let's name names. Let's call these scumbags out. Let's talk about Feinstein. Let's talk about Schumer. You know that these scumbags have multi-million-dollar portfolios. They have to hold portions of Freedom Group or something like that.
Oh, of course.
It's probably a given, Michael. They're greedy.
Well, I think that there's a lot of folks out there, even outside of government, that really don't want to see, they don't want to see ammunition out there on the streets. You've got a lot of citizens initiatives in places on the East Coast that are, petitioning their town and city and state governments to justify these bans. And, bans on high capacity magazines, bans on certain visual effects or visual.
The shoulder
appurtenances
thing that goes up.
Exactly. You know,
if people may not be aware what that is, the shoulder thing that goes up is in reference to a New York Senator, Carolyn McCarthy. She was interviewed on, believe it was by Tucker Carlson, and he was asking her items that she was calling for a ban on, absolutely believing that these items made the weapon far more deadly. And he asked her what a barrel shroud was. And, well, anybody who has any sort of knowledge about word etymology will figure out that there's two words, and you've got barrel and shroud. And shroud usually means a covering. So let's go with the shoulder thing that goes up for 200, Chuck.
Yeah. I just think that we have a lot of people who were elected, you know, rightly or wrongly, and they really are just not knowledgeable on
Well,
firearms.
not only not knowledgeable, they are not working for our interests. If we're really going to jump down this path, we have to say that a lot of these people that are calling for these various actions regarding firearms and basically people control all have allegiances to a foreign nation. And I'll just leave it at that because I know I can go on a rant with this, but we have people making law and policy that do not have our nation's best interest at heart. They work for another nation, and that other nation's interests are not commensurate with ours. And if I go any further, I'm going to start really saying what I got to say.
Yeah, take a breath. I think that there's also a certain class of people, regardless of that. They just are afraid of firearms. And I think that it's due to a lack of knowledge and a lack of understanding. You know, you're always afraid.
We face a big fight from the media. Every time you turn around, you could go to the newspaper section, the movie section of the newspaper right now and take a look at whatever. I guarantee you of 10 movies that are up, 4 of those movie posters have a man holding a firearm in a somewhat threatening manner.
Michael, I'm curious to see what happens in Connecticut. You know, there's an estimated 350,000 AR owners in Connecticut alone that are not going to register their ARs, you know, or the magazines. So,
I firmly stand with those guys in Connecticut, Dan. I would hope that more Americans, stood with them.
They're clumping together. They're getting together and forming groups and stuff, and they're not going to give up their ARs or register the things, you know.
This could be a Lexington and Concord moment for our generation here. That would bring us to our scumbag of the week, Lieutenant Paul Vance of the Connecticut State Police. I don't know if anybody remembers, but he's the one during the tragedy back in 2013 who said that anybody who tweets any information that is not from the official mouthpiece is subject to arrest. Well, he's taken it a step further, and he has basically said that he is the master. He was interviewed, or actually not interviewed, but a lady called and recorded the phone call and asked him questions on Connecticut's gun control acts that were just passed. And she asked him, what are you going to do if we don't register? And he wouldn't give an answer. And then she said that, well, sir, you're the servant to the people, and the people are the master. And scumbag of the week, Lieutenant Paul Vance of the Connecticut State Police, scumbag number 1, said, no, ma'am, I'm the master. So you heard it right there from the horse's mouth or the horse's ass or whichever end it come out of. Scumbag of the week, Lieutenant Paul Vance of the Connecticut State Police thinks he is the master.
And then he quickly diverted the conversation after he said that too, I think, Michael. I heard that. That was hilarious, or calling him to him.
Well, it was hilarious and a little bit scary.
It's like, I couldn't believe he'd take her call and keep on talking to her for as long as he did. This guy's a total idiot. He exposed himself for what he is.
I think
I would
there's
definitely
plenty more
hope
than that out there.
Absolutely.
I think there are plenty of folks that are in either elected positions or are in charge of departments that truly believe they are the end all of the democratic process, and they are the arbiters of what goes in their jurisdictions. You know, it's a sad thing, but people that have accountability to a governing body, such as, you know, the people of a state, really don't find themselves to be all that accountable.
Not at all.
Well,
Yeah.
they have
It's a dangerous
legislative methods of not being held accountable.
Yeah, that's called judges who write laws by their judgments and their proceedings.
Activist judges, yeah, they belong in that special spot on the overpass next to the politician and the banker. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I just can't believe in Connecticut with a stroke of a pen they can make 350,000 people felons all of a sudden.
That brings up an interesting question, Dan. What happens when they do have to, or when they do have to respond to somebody's home who did not register?
Or
Well,
will they ever? I don't think it'll happen.
They will show up like you've never seen anything. There will be helicopters. There will be SWAT teams. I guarantee you. And it will be.
That's a lot of funding.
It is a lot of funding.
That's a lot of funding.
They're not accountable
I'll tell you what, that's
comes from for their department. All they care is that they have a budget. They have money in the budget. And if they don't use it all, they're not going to be able to ask for more. So what better way to justify having all those toys than if you're going out and responding to 350,000 different, you know, potential felons who, number one, don't support the state's initiative, and number two, are flagrantly violating these new laws. So it's not all that far-fetched.
Let me ask. Now you've got 350 armed people who believe in, well, basically believe in a product. This is their item. They believe in the rights that God gave them, the rights as an American citizen. Now you have the Connecticut State Police who has to show up to, I don't know, a domestic violence call 4 houses down. And it comes up, because I've seen how those maps work. It gives everybody within a 4-block radius who's armed.
Sure, yeah.
Well, they've got a big budget. How much does that budget cover for funerals?
None, because they're not paying in on that.
Who's paying for the funerals? Because I'll tell you what, you start door-to-door gun confiscation, you can count on a lot of funerals.
Look what happened in Louisiana during Katrina. They did door-to-door gun confiscations. Who was held accountable?
Well,
Nobody.
The door-to-door gun confiscations in Katrina were done by Blackwater and by the National Guard.
How big an area do they confiscate the guns in New Orleans? The whole city, or?
I believe they took the southern half of the state.
There were folks trying to depart on I-10 into Mississippi and go in the other direction, and yeah, they were stopped.
They were stopping people on the highway to check their vehicle as they were leaving.
Right. You know, there were guys who had weapons.
There's a difference between what's going on in Connecticut and what happened in New Orleans. There was no warning that was going to happen in New Orleans. Now we've had almost a month of build up to this. Everybody's seen the little letter from the Connecticut State Police with your 4 options, because it's not an assault rifle, it's an assault weapon, and your assault magazines.
Yeah, because you can beat somebody to death with a magazine.
So you better register them.
Not if it's a Tapco magazine, because that thing will fly apart.
It'll break. It's high-tech polymer. Don't talk bad about it.
I'm sorry. I've got no love for Tapco. I've got no love for ProMag either, but
it's a good thing their corporate lawyers don't listen.
Can they sue me for telling the truth?
You never know.
The truth is I do not appreciate their products, and I've got a story for each one of them.
Yeah. No, I think that it's a sign of the times. And honestly, if you are a gun owner or a firearms owner in the states of Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, Rhode Island, New Jersey, you know, you're in for a long haul if you want to hold on to your firearms. I think that there's certain forces in play, namely in New York City, you know, supposedly one of the safest cities in the world because they have a firearms prohibition for handguns. Now, statistics aside, and we know what the facts are, these cities that ban and have politicians who constantly push, the Bloomberg agenda about disarmament and making firearms illegal and off limits, it's a bad situation for those citizens who have to deal with that and have to rely on, providing safety for themselves and alternative methods. And anybody that's ever had a dealing or a run-in with a criminal knows that the police, number one, don't show up until the crime has been committed. Okay. Number two, they're left to fend for themselves. And more often than not, we have people who do comply with a criminal and give a wallet, give their money, give their jewels.
We can take this right back to a recent event in Detroit. There was a single mother at her home. She had 3 kids inside, and recent break-ins and home invasions, and they got it on security cam. 3 young criminals come kicking in that door. They're gonna, I don't know what they're gonna take. It didn't look like a fancy house or anything, but the woman grabbed her rifle. She had a high point 9mm carbine, probably one of the most budget friendly rifles out there. And, she let loose with 5 shots. Those guys went running, but one of those guys turned right back around and came right back through that door, and she let out another 4. Well, I'll tell you what, that's 9 shots right there, possibly 10. Now she's got to reload. That's not the most simple of rifles to do that with. This is where the 10-round limit doesn't work.
Well, not only that, she probably hasn't had the training and been under duress or stressful situations to be able to competently reload that in a short manner of time, which will allow her to get back and put her sights back on her target.
Well, so she got lucky with the 10-round limit right there.
Yeah, the cockroach that came back, did he flee again, Michael? Or
absolutely. She let go another 4 shots and 4 or 5 shots, and yeah, he turned tail and ran because the criminal just wants an easy target. But Dan, we see in this case, this lady used a high point carbine in 9mm. In my area, brand new, those things go for anywhere between $290 to $330. How much do those go for in your area?
That sounds about right, Michael. You're right in the ballpark there. And
we can see that a pistol caliber carbine offers a wide range of defensive options for a homeowner. I think maybe a good thing to discuss would maybe be go over some of the finer points of pistol caliber carbines.
First of all, what do you mean by carbine? A lot of our listeners might not know what you're talking about when you say a pistol caliber carbine.
All right, a carbine is usually a rifle with a shorter barrel on it, a little handier to carry. It's usually got a barrel at about 16.5, maybe to 18 inches long, and is a smaller version of a bigger rifle. And
it shoots pistol ammunition, correct?
Well, not all carbines will shoot pistol ammunition, but a carbine is generally refers to the length of the barrel. Now, the pistol ammunition would be just exactly what it says. It's ammunition that fits in a pistol. Well, now it fits in a rifle. And as we've discussed before, it's all about gas and the expanding gas principle. So if you can burn more powder up and create more gas, you're going to have a faster bullet coming out of the end of that barrel. So you can turn that 9mm almost into .357 Magnum territory. That's a pretty handy thing.
Especially, a 9mm is a relatively inexpensive round to buy right now.
That's right. You can still find 9mm for under $10 a box for some of the cheaper stuff. It might be a little bit dirty. It most likely will be steel cased, imported from a former communist nation. But I'll tell you what, I've never had any former commie ammo fail to go bang.
I can't believe Tula is going for 15 cents a round. Maybe the 22 long rifle is not coming back. Maybe they're lying to us. They're not producing it. Maybe they're producing it. Somebody's buying it up. We don't know about. I don't know. It's crazy. I've never seen it go this long without ammo coming back.
And
that's personally why I don't own any 22. there's a lot of folks out there that love it for its plinking ability. It used to not be expensive, but I seem to not see the utility in having a rifle where the ammunition is just either A, non-existent, or B, when it is existent,
Well,
it's
the
overpriced.
non-existence, the availability of the ammo, that's just a recent thing. And I can see where you wouldn't have use for a 22 just because of the places you've lived in the last couple of years where you don't have the ability to shoot like you do in the States. For me, I can hop in my truck and I'll be at a nice place where I can shoot in 5 minutes. Doesn't cost me a dime. Doesn't cost me a dime. I don't have to pay a fee. I don't have to sign in with anybody. Nothing like that. I just walk out there and I can go shoot. You can't really do that in some of the places you've lived in the recent past.
Actually, Michael, in my last place, I did have a place where I could do that. And even though 22 was available there, it was also available on the local market, and there was no non-availability of 22. So which led me to believe it was A, regional, or B, political. And I think that, I'd side on going with the latter of those two. But
well, I can see that because if we're looking at a 22 long rifle, it is the most produced round in the United States. They're saying at its maximum production, the CCI factory, makers of the famed and gold standard of all ammunition, the CCI Stinger, they make 4 million rounds a day of rimfire ammunition.
Where's it going?
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know,
Leave
but
it
I
stuck
think
in the mail along with the check.
I think Dan, we talked a little bit about a batch of rifles that has just come out, and if we got a second, I could talk about them.
Yeah, is that in that Army Times rifle roundup you're talking about?
That is. And Michael was talking about the pistol caliber carbines. One of the rifles that's in here it's a group of about 15 different rifles that are new on the market this year. One of them is it's called a Legacy Sports International Citadel M1. And this will
I've seen those, and that is a nifty idea.
Right, and one of them is configured as a 22 long rifle. The other is configured as a 9mm. So basically, you can take your 9mm ammo, you can load it in the magazine, and you can use it out of this, and that would make it a pistol caliber carbine. It's got
there's something nifty neat about that Legacy 9mm carbine. The magazines it uses are the Beretta 92 series magazines.
Yeah,
15 rounders in.
Well, I believe it comes from the factory. It comes with a 10-round magazine, but the standard 15 rounders or the 30 rounders or the 20 rounders will fit that, or the 17 rounders. Anything that fits a Beretta 92 series pistol will fit that rifle, and that is a very handy thing to have. Now,
the great thing about
another rifle, another carbine that will take pistol caliber or pistol magazines. So that's something else to think about. Got a couple with commonality. You've got Beretta makes the CX4 Storm. And they make that in 9mm, 40 caliber, and they make it in 45. They do trade magazines with the Storm pistols, and some of them trade with the 92 series of pistols.
Now,
Marlin go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, to finish up about this, the Legacy Sports M1, it comes with iron sights. So straight out of the box, you don't need to buy optics with it. And that's a good thing. You can either get it synthetic or wood stock, and it has the overall appearance of, your grandpa or your great grandpa's M1 carbine from World War II.
Something that we're seeing with pistol caliber carbines, they do tend to come with sights on them, unless it's an AR-15 version. There's two of them I'd like to look at here. There's one, actually they're fairly similar in name. There's the JR carbine, which takes Glock magazines, and it looks externally very much like an AR-15. Functionally, it's not anything like an AR-15. Those come in at about $700 a piece. And I've seen mixed reviews on them. Another one that's out there, and it looks to be better quality just from looking at it online. I've not seen one in person. I've not seen one at a show or anything. It's called the JP carbine. And once again, I believe that takes Glock magazines as well. And
Michael, does one of those take a Glock lower also? Don't you just snap the Glock lower on one of those?
No, that's the Mech Tech upper is what that would be.
Oh, okay. You just take your Glock lower and slap it on there in the proper caliber.
That's changing it. That's changing the carbine into a rifle. You'd have to have your own pistol frame to do that. Nick, were there any other carbines or any other rifles on that Army Roundup?
Yeah, actually, there's just a couple that I want to bring out. And I'm a budget-minded consumer. I don't necessarily need to have the best of the best out there to get the job done, even though I can appreciate a quality product. There's a lot of folks out there that just don't have the budget for it. And right now, one of the other manufacturers that's out there that's putting out some number one good quality and number two affordable quality is we're looking at Savage. Savage is an American rifle maker company, and they've got a model called the Model 11 or the Model 111, and this one is called the Long Range Hunter, and it comes out chambered in .338 Lapua. So this is a big bullet, and it's hovering right about the $1,000 price range. It's either $950 or $1,100 depending upon some stock variations, whether it's synthetic or whether it's wood stock. But the interesting thing about this rifle is it comes with a detachable box magazine. It comes with a Weaver style scope rail, and then it also comes with a cheek riser integrated into the stock. And then, of course, at the end is either finished with a bull barrel or you can opt for the muzzle brake. So for $1,000, that's a pretty good investment. And the good thing is that Savage has a good record when it comes to the mechanics of the trigger, the stock bedding. .338 Lapua is a big game cartridge. So if you're interested in taking some of the larger game in North America, whether it be a moose or caribou or bear, that is a perfect round.
It's a long range round, .338 Lapua.
What does .338 Lapua come in cost per round?
That I haven't seen, but I know that you can normally buy a box at roughly $27. So depending upon
how many? 10?
Box of 20.
10?
A box of 20.
You might be lucky to get a box of 10 for $27 now.
Like I said, normally where I'm shopping, we don't pay tax.
Well, that's true. You do have a nice place to shop for that, I guess.
Yeah.
So we got a few questions in here in the chat about the pistol caliber carbines. Questions about are there any pistol caliber carbines that would take a magazine that also the 1911 uses? And the answer is yes. Marlin made a camp carbine in .45 and Woodstock, and it took a 1911 magazine. High Point also makes a .45 caliber rifle or a little carbine, and they take a 1911 magazine that's been modified, and it's been modified. It's just got another release hole in the body of the magazine. So people will take standard 1911 magazines and Dremel them out and use them in there.
There was another manufacturer, Michael Carlisle, that made it accepted a 1911 magazine that had an integrated suppressor in the barrel. So the whole barrel is about 1 inch in diameter. I always called it the Elmer Fudd gun. It was a very quiet gun. It sounded like a book closing when you shot it. It was 45 round going off. It was a cool gun. Very cool.
Well, there was also towards the end of World War II, there were some Lee Enfields that were modified to use a .45 ACP. They were also using 1911 magazine, and they were designed for clandestine service. Bolt action, integral suppressor, fairly interesting. Something we're kind of avoiding in this pistol caliber carbine roundup is revolver cartridges. You can't shy away from the good old Model 94 and 357 or 44 Magnum.
That's correct. And those prices, those guns have really shot up in value here lately too. Any of the lever action guns that shoot a 357 or 44 Magnum,
Or 45 long Colt.
which is the same as a 44 Magnum. You shoot both of them in the gun, I think. Those guns have really increased in value here lately.
I know that Winchester quit making them, and I believe Marlin actually also stopped making them, or Marlin took a pause in the production. So there's a lot from Rossi out there, and Puma is also making some of the lever action carbines. They seem to be. I've got a friend who's got a Rossi, and he really likes it. He's got one. It's kind of like it's an alloy of some sort. It makes it have like a stainless look, and it's in 357, and that's a nice shooting rifle.
Well, there's another lever action out there from Winchester, and it's called the Model 1873. And this one also fires at 45 Colt, 357, and 38 Special, and that's hovering right about $1,600. And it's got the it's got the look of a classic lever action carbine.
Well, I know for a fact that the Rossi comes in a good deal less than that. Rossi comes in at about $500.
Yeah, and I think whether the choice is to have lever action or a bolt action or even a semi-automatic, that kind of is up to the type and style of shooting that you're going to do, what you're comfortable with. Maybe even a little bit of nostalgia goes into that.
Nick, do you have any prices? Are there prices on those firearms you've been talking about?
Yeah, I sure do. Like I said, starting out, we went ahead and we talked about that Legacy Sports M1 carbine in either 22 or in 9mm. That was hovering right about $600. You know, synthetic is a little cheaper. The wood stock is a little more. We talked about that Savage Arms. It hovers right about $1,000. And then, that 1873 carbine was right about $1,600. But the one I really, really wanted to talk about was a good bolt gun from a U.S. manufacturer, and it's called a Ruger American Rimfire. This is a bolt action gun, and it's got a lot of the features from its Ruger 1022 line. So this one will fire in either 22 long rifle or 22 Magnum, and it comes with either 22-inch barrel or an 18-inch barrel, and they are cold hammer forged and blued barrels. They both use detachable box magazines, and you can have either the adjustable V-slot folding sights, and or you can have it set up to take optics. And this one is actually really affordably priced, and it's right about $350.
I know that in the Ruger rifles that you're speaking about right there, they also make one of those bolt action in 357 Magnum.
Yeah, it may be a different model. This one specifically is just got the look of a regular bolt action, although synthetic, and it's affordable. And Ruger does have good quality, and they've weathered the storm through a couple different ownership changes, and you know they've come out and consistently put out good products.
Sales have been so good they're expanding their plant in North Carolina, by the way.
Oh, there you go. You know, times must be good over there. I know that my stock in them has gone up.
Well, that brings up something interesting that they haven't entirely left the California market. They will be still selling wheel guns in California. Both Smith & Wesson and Ruger are selling wheel guns in California still, but no more semi-automatics for those folks.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's, like I said, the folks in California have, there's definitely two different camps in that state of, classes of, folk. And, you know, it's sad to say, but the people in the Inland Empire and the people in the Inland Valley, those folks are hardworking ranching type folks. You know, they're farmers, they're ranchers, they're folks that understand the value of being protected. And then you have the folks in the major metro areas, outside of Sacramento, San Francisco, the Bay Area, down to LA, San Diego, who, the people are mostly averse to gun ownership. And I wouldn't be surprised if that contributes to a lot more, wouldn't say necessarily, you know, just the intention of a state to secede, but I can see in the in the near future, I can see a lot more citizens initiatives pushing California to break up into smaller states, with that being at the center of its core.
Well, there is a plan in California right now to bust it up into 6 different states, but I don't think that's going to go anywhere.
No, probably won't, but I think
I would like to see the state of Jefferson established for the folks in the north.
Yeah, those are the folks that are on the Northern California border with Oregon. And
I like that.
Once again, those are folks who understand the value and have needed reasons to have those firearms handy. You know, whether it was due to animals or whether it was due to folks trying to encroach on their land. Yeah, I get it. But basically, Michael, to summarize what I've got here is, these are a lot of rifles that are, well within most folks' budget. I think that a good, reliable bolt action for $400 is worth it. And granted, even going up to $1,000 or more, it all depends on the volume that you shoot, what you're comfortable with shooting, your intended purpose, and certainly, when you think about it, what types of accessories you can use. And I think that brings us to something that we wanted to talk about, Dan.
Yeah, accessories that are garbage. Michael mentioned that thing you showed me, that bayonet or whatever that thing is.
The Chaos Technologies Porcupine Spike Bayonet add-on thing for $49.99 with a Picatinny rail.
Does it come in lime green?
It does have a zombie sticker on the size of it.
Well, then you're good.
And it's like 6 knives in a circle or something. Or what?
It looked to be 6 barbecue skewers.
Ooh, you can go ahead and do some kebab grilling.
I'm telling you, that's for the weenie roast or something after you're done killing zombies.
And where does this thing attach to the rifle?
Oh, it attaches like it would almost be a muzzle brake.
Wow. So it's not like a free float rail. It's
no, you shoot through it. It's
right.
It gives me a headache to think about it.
Would it attach to the forend of an AK or an AR, or what are we looking at here?
I think they were designed to have them work with Sega rifles or with their shotguns. And it was after you put on the quad rail up in the front and from Chaos. See, that's the problem with all these add-on items. It's once you get into it, it's a never-ending pit. It's almost like you've turned your pistol into an iPod, and now you have to continue to throw 99 cents at it to put this, that, and the other thing on it. Reminds me a lot of the guys who buy brand new Harley Davidsons and spend $40,000 on the damn thing, and then immediately have to take it in and spend another $2,900 in chrome and crap on it. You've seen that picture. Keep that crap off my AK. That's how I feel about it.
Bling. When you bling. The Mexicans like that bling down there, don't they?
Seen some pretty neat stuff down here. Seen a lot of Colts, usually in 38 Super or in 45 ACP, that are scrolled and engraved and really nice precious metal grips on them. Pieces of art. I don't think I'd use them as a daily carry item, but there's some fairly nifty stuff. But the Mexican culture it's a Western culture. It's a culture of conquest, very similar to the American culture. They took land and had to fight for the land.
Well, Che Guevara said that Mexicans were just inbred Indians.
Yeah, Che Guevara was full of all sorts of nifty quotes. Too bad you can't fit any half of his nifty quotes on one of them damn T-shirts.
Well, not only that, it just goes to show that he was of the type of mentality that, as long as he and his ruling class had the guns, there was absolutely no reason for anybody of the common citizenry to have them.
That's right. They must have all the power.
That's
and
right.
As we've seen with the few news stories we've presented tonight, when you have a firearm, you're taking control. You have the power. That woman in Detroit who turned away 3 urban youths intent on doing her harm with a rifle that comes in well below everything that you listed off on that list. That's real power. That is real power. She had the power to defend herself, her home, and her loved ones. And she beat 3 guys.
And the good thing is she was around to talk about it later.
That's right.
That's why we like
no charges were filed. No charges were filed with her.
Unless you're in New York.
Yeah, I was going to say, what was some of the other not needed, but you see folks carrying around and putting an attachment onto their rifles, Michael? What's something else that you've seen lately that is a non-starter in terms of accessories?
I've seen a melee weapon, and this is something that must come straight out of the video game genre, but it's a half an axe that mounts on a Picatinny rail, so you can now put it on your pistol.
That'll work.
Yeah. I've seen
3-inch
bayonets. 3-inch bayonets that mount underneath a pistol. I've seen those.
I tell you what, going the opposite direction. I like to shoot, and I like to make sure that my form is good. I like to make sure that I'm doing the same things the same way, so that if I have a shot go errant, I can correct it easily. One of the things I also like to do is I like to film when I go hunting, because I've got a little boy, and my job does take me away from time to time. So I like to be able to take video of what I see and send it back. And one of the things that I had gotten into was attaching a digital camera to my rifles. So doing this just totally on the budget and really trying to be self-sufficient at it. I had messed around with some steel and cut holes and drilled holes and got a couple different devices made where I could attach a digital camera to a rifle scope. Well, I actually found something, and it's an ingenious design in the sense that I didn't think of it. But it's basically a digital camera Picatinny rail mount. So for those of you folks that have the mill standard 1913 Picatinny rails, you can actually go ahead and take this camera mount. You can attach it to your rail. It goes off the rail far enough to where you have 5 different holes to align your camera, depending upon the width of your camera, so you're not directly in your line of fire. And you can use your digital camera to either take pictures or to film your hunts, and that comes in only at $30. It's from a company called Strikemark, and that to me was one of the more useful attachments that I've seen in quite a while.
All right, well then, going down that road, I'll say the best attachment that you can buy for your weapon, whether it's a pistol or a rifle. If it's a pistol, buy yourself a holster. If it's a rifle, buy a sling. Before you spend any money on anything that makes beeps or requires a battery or lights up or does anything, buy a sling.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I guess to me is second nature, because when you have to carry that thing around for 15 months.
Absolutely.
You're going to want to have a sling.
Well, see, it's second nature to you, but to a lot of people, it's not. And I see this at gun shows, and I know that Dan sees this as well. But you'll see these kids coming in, and they've got, the AR-15 that's got a different lower from the upper, and they've pieced it together, and God knows how many rounds of Wolf have been down through it and when it was last cleaned. But it's got a light, and it's got a laser, and it's got a flashlight, and a green flashlight, and it's got a fake EOTech, and it's got a foregrip that turns into a bipod, and it's got a bayonet mount, and it's got a cup holder on the side, and it's got every damn thing except a flush toilet on it. And this guy is carrying it around, and he's asking $1,700 for this thing. And then he'll pass by my table again about 40 minutes later, and he's carrying it in a different position. He'll pass by my table again in about another half hour, and he's got it at a less than attentive position. And then as I see him leaving the show, he's dragging it out the door. He's got $500 for the crap, and he didn't spend, $20, any $10. You can get an old commie sling for $10, and you can figure out how to put that on there. It's actually for the rifle only costs $20. And I mean,
I think
God's sakes, he's got $20 in Punisher stickers on the magazines.
Well, here's the thing, Michael. There's a certain class of person out there that doesn't use that rifle as an implement of his trade or her trade. And they just see that as a recreational device. And they're not intelligent on that. And, you can't really fault them. They're just, they haven't had the experience in life to really see the value of buying the appropriate.
No, but it's not only experience, it's also, forethought and just plain old goddamn common sense, because a rifle's heavy after a while. I mean,
sure.
if you carried it in from the store to your car and from your car into your house and held it around the house for a little while, which I'm sure that everybody did, you notice that it has some weight.
Yeah, an AR is going to weigh, with accessories, going to weigh approximately 8 to 10 pounds, something like that.
And then throw in a 30-round magazine that's loaded.
Yeah.
And then, oh, by the way, if you're doing it right, you're going to carry another 180 rounds with you. So that'll be your
That's right.
210. So,
and how do you carry all that? I mean, and especially when your pants are sagging down.
Well, I'll tell you what, they make good Molly vest chest rigs that will hold all your mags, and that'll work out pretty well. But you hit on the collapsing or the telescoping bipod. I seem to think that that's a very good investment. And my reason is this. A lot of shooters are not comfortable firing an AR series platform. They don't have the time on the range with it. And a lot of times they're not a steady shot. That bipod, while functional as a foregrip, will also allow them to stabilize that platform and give them the stability that they need. Now, I don't see a whole lot of folks getting down on the ground to shoot. I do it quite frequently. There may be more of us out there that are either former military or who are predator hunters or just really get out and try and use that rifle to the best of its capabilities. But I see that collapsing bipod as a pretty useful device to attach.
I could give you that. But then again, you also have the issue of you get exactly what you paid for. And to be honest with you, a lot of that polymer stick-on crap that comes from the gun show, yeah, it's worth the $14.99 you paid for it.
Michael, I have one called a grip pod.
There you go, Dan. There you go. I've got a grip pod as well. And I can tell you that my grip pod I've had for the last 7 years, it's been through Iraq, it's been through Afghanistan, and I did a lot more laying on.
You're happy with that product?
Totally. The grip pod.
Give him a yell. Give him a yell. Grip pod made by who?
I don't know. Grip pod Industries. I'll tell you what.
Grip pod worldwide.
It's a simple design. It's just it's got a thumb release, and the bipod legs come out of the bottom of the grip. And it stabilizes.
Push a button, Michael. It's really, really cool. You push a button out,
I know exactly what they are. But I'm going to tell you guys, if Comrade Kalashnikov wanted us to have one of those grip pods, he'd have built it into the rifle.
He did later on when he valued, the soldiers that were carrying it. So there are a couple of them that out there of them, the PKMs, some of the heavier 7.62s. So. I'll tell you this, you're not going to get accurate shot placement if you don't have the muscle memory. And short of having the muscle memory, a bipod is going to help improve your, stability.
Muscle memory brings in something that's pretty important. We haven't really had a chance to, hit on tonight, but that's getting out there and practicing. And number one, the most important part of practicing is to know the 4 rules of firearm safety. And I believe we have to touch on that, and I think we should spend a couple minutes on it. It's important stuff. Rule number 1, every firearm is loaded. Until you visually inspect and are absolutely 100% sure the magazine has been removed, the slide has been taken back, the chamber has been insured, there is no projectile in the barrel, that gun is loaded. Every gun is loaded. Dan, what's rule number 2?
You treat them that way, and also you're always aware of muzzle direction, Michael. Never have a firearm pointed towards a person. Always have it pointed down to the ground or up in the air if you have to.
That's right. You got to have that. Anything you point that pistol at or that weapon at has the ability to be destroyed. So be 100% safe with your muzzle direction.
And of course, you need to know what your target is, what you're shooting at, and what's around your target, and what's behind your target before you actually want to shoot at it.
Yeah, you can never be faulted if you do not pull that trigger when you're not sure of what's behind your target. You know, if you don't have a safe backstop, don't do it.
That's right. You cannot bring that bullet back.
That's right.
Number 4, Michael.
Dan, number 4 is possibly the most important rule of all. And gentlemen, please keep your booger hook off the bang switch. That's right. Keep your finger off the trigger. Do not place your finger on the trigger until you're ready to make that gun go bang. And if you're wondering what to do with that finger, you can actually point it along the side of the pistol, point it along the side of the rifle, outside of the trigger guard area. Keep your finger out of that area until you're ready to fire that weapon.
Yeah, that's part of muscle memory too, is that you've got to have the time on the range and the time with the rifle to make sure that your finger's home is outside that trigger housing area.
It's there most of the time, correct, Nick?
If not all the time, except for when you were actually pulling that trigger. That thumb should be operating on an AR series. That thumb should be operating your safety more than you're pulling the trigger.
And that's
firearm safety just can't be stressed enough. I mean, it's right. We all hold dear, and we can't give the forces that are out to strip our rights away any more power. So
yeah, and the other thing is too is that as long as we're passing on how to handle firearms safely to the next generation of shooters, we are creating folks who are going to be competent and confident in their firearms, and they're going to know what to do when they need to use them.
Can't stress enough just to take somebody out that's never shot before if you own a firearm, and take them out and teach them in a safe way how to use a firearm, familiarize them with them. That's one of the main things, is just being familiar with the firearm.
Yeah,
some
like
fine
Michael said,
bonding experiences over firearms with family and friends.
Yeah, and like Michael said, folks remember that once you pull the trigger and that bullet exits your barrel, there is no recall. There is no return button. There is no bringing it back. And quite a lot of folks have had to learn the hard way that they were either you had buck fever, or C, they were nervous. There's all different kinds of reasons. But if you don't have the forethought to make sure that you don't pull that trigger until you are sure of the other things, then goodness, please don't.
Please think before you act.
Yeah.
And practice. That's all I got to say, Michael. And that's why I like 22 because they're inexpensive rounds to shoot. And
certainly.
I shoot a lot more 22 than I'll tell you what, every time I go out, I always shoot. I may only put 2 or 3 magazines of center fire through a pistol, but I'm guaranteed to probably put at least 100 rounds through of 22 each time. That's just,
well,
I love it.
Michael, we're out of time here. It's amazing. I want to thank everyone for being with us tonight. Nick, got any shout outs real quick?
No, just to my brethren out here in South Korea, keeping it down, keeping the North at bay.
All right, Michael. See y'all later.
Thank you very much. UC White on TV. Prepper Chicks After Dark next.